We can do this.
Hi, this is Yaffi, registered dietitian, nutritionist, and owner of Baby Bloom Nutrition. Welcome to Nap Time Nutrition. And today I have special guest, Gila, who is a registered dietitian in Woodmere, New York, who just started a private practice. Yay! And today we are going to be talking about self-care. So, what is self-care?
Wow, that's a loaded question. So as we were talking about before, I just learned about self-care myself maybe like 2 years ago. And it was an eye-opening experience, I would say. I was speaking to a sister-in-law of mine about an issue I was having in my marriage. And she recommended this book called The Surrendered Wife. And I had never heard of it, but she actually ordered it for me and sent it to my house. So I was reading it and I was relating to it and I really liked it. And I got to the chapter on self-care. And the author, Laura Doyle, she speaks about how it's our responsibility to take care of ourselves. And the more we take care of ourselves, the easier it is for someone to take care of us. So it was like, duh, like, oh, right, I have to take care of myself. Like, we have this sort of like unrealistic expectation. Maybe it's like from movies or something that like, like you have this like horrible void in you, and then you find your husband and he's just going to figure it out and fill your void and you'll live happily ever after. And when that doesn't happen, you're just like, what happened? What went wrong? And then when I was reading the book, I realized that you could be married, have kids, go to work and literally do nothing all day for yourself. And then you feel completely burnt out at the end of the day and you wonder why. So she recommends that you make a list of 10 things that you really enjoy doing and 10 things that make you feel really good. And then you pick every single night 3 things from the list and you make sure that you do them. So it could be anything. It could be getting a manicure. It could be buying yourself lunch if you don't have time. It could be calling a friend for 5 minutes, but it has to be something that you really enjoy and for you, not for anyone else. And sometimes it overlaps, but it was just revolutionary. I realized that a lot of times we're taught like just be selfless, just give to others, and if you don't have enough to give, you just can't give to yourself or to anyone. So it was just something that I learned, and it was just the aha moment, like, okay, I'm going to do this. And it changed my life.
I think it's really important, especially to tell this not only to people to help within their marriage, but to help within their families as well. I know that personally, it took us a long time to have kids, and you like build it up in your head. And I'm going to be happy when, and we all have those. Whether you're single or you're married or you have kids, or you don't have kids, you always have that. I'll be happy when, and it's important to find happiness in the moment. But it's easy to think, I'll be happy when I get married, when this other person fills my void, like you said, or I'll be happy when I have kids. But then you're the stay-at-home mom with your kids, the picture, living the picture that you always wanted, and you think, why am I not fulfilled? Why isn't this enough for me? And the self-care is really probably the piece that's missing.
Yeah. And it was just cool for me when I heard about intuitive eating. I read The Surrendered Wife before I heard about intuitive eating, but then I was really trying to practice a lot of the things from the book, including self-care. And then when I heard about intuitive eating and I read intuitive eating, I was like, there's a whole chapter in intuitive eating about self-care. This is so cool. Like, you don't even realize how much, well, first of all, how much intuitive eating is like mind, body, spirituality. It's not just about food. So it's just a really integrated approach to nutrition. And also food, it's not just food. It's not just the fact that food is a way to use self-care. It's also that sometimes we think we have an eating disorder or we're binge eating because we have a problem, but really we just didn't sleep enough. Like, you're just not sleeping enough and food's right there, so you're just going to eat it because you're not able to give yourself what you really need, which is sleep or something else.
Right, and I think that's an important point to make, and not to say, and obviously eating disorders exist. Obviously, if you feel like you're eating is disordered or you may have an eating disorder, please contact the appropriate professionals, your doctor, your dietitian, even your religious leader who can direct you in the right place, whatever. But it's important to know that food is a lot of things to us. It's a lot of different things. And one part of that is comfort. And if you haven't been taking care of yourself, you could turn to food and just really go crazy on a tub of ice cream. And
For sure.
and there isn't anything wrong with having some ice cream, but you want to be sure that you're caring for yourself in other ways as well. If you take care of yourself, you're less likely to destroy yourself trying to take care of yourself.
For sure. For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So I haven't spoken a whole lot about intuitive eating specifically on these segments, mainly because of where my population falls. But it's really the idea that you're connecting with your body and you're allowing your body to be in charge of the food that you eat, both in choice and in amount and in timing. It's the idea that we get back to being in touch with our bodies the way that we were born to be. So if you want more information about that, definitely contact me. But so being intuitive about your eating and being intuitive about your exercising and being intuitive about what you need to fulfill yourself, those are all ways to lead a more meaningful, more purposeful, more mindful life, which is going to lead to more happiness.
For sure. I also think that of all the 10 principles, I think self-care overlaps with like maybe 5, because honor your hunger, feel your fullness. That's a way of self-care. When you're in the beginning, sometimes with the intuitive eating process, people don't even know their hunger cues, and that takes some time. But so that usually stems from a lack of self-care, because usually people have to eat between every 3 to 5 hours. And if you haven't been doing that and you're someone who doesn't eat the whole day and you get home at 8 o'clock at night and you'll stuff yourself with whatever's around, then you're just not, giving yourself what you need. And then when you overeat, it's also very uncomfortable. I mean, sometimes we do it for different reasons. We're also not in tune with our body, or we just really had a hard day. But when you start to practice self-care, you'll see that you're more in tune with those things. And also, honor your health with gentle nutrition. That's a way of self-care. Exercise is a way of self-care. Not using food to cope with your emotions. I feel like that's like self-care, because sometimes it's so easy to eat when you're feeling depressed or feeling tired or feeling bored. And, sometimes that's okay. But if you're doing it all the time, that's like a really good inner cue to think, okay, what do I really need right now? Did I not sleep enough last night? Do I need some social time? Because that's why we'll turn to food, because we need something else if we're not.
Right. It's one thing to have a craving for ice cream, but if you're using ice cream to replace face-to-face time with your friends,
Right.
That's where the problem is. We really need to maintain our individuality as we become families, as we get bigger, as we become a part of something bigger. We do need to maintain who we are as individuals in order to feel more complete. And so what you were saying is that it can, at the beginning, but just to tie that back, is that it can improve your marriage and improve your relationship with your kids and other family members, coworkers for that matter, if you take care of yourself, if you fulfill yourself, because other people will find it more pleasant to be around you and they will want to also take care of you.
For sure.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
Well, if you have anything else to add?
A little bit, if you have time.
Go right ahead.
Okay, I was going to say that after I read the book, The Surrendered Wife, I also heard a shir by someone named Carol Abramowitz, who is very much in touch with this approach to marriage and child rearing and relationships in general. And she said such a good line. She said, like, if somebody feels like they're needed, but like if your husband feels like you need him and you're going to die without his love, he will run the other way. He feels suffocated. It's suffocating to feel needed. But when you feel wanted, it's like it's voluntary. It feels good. Like I'm wanted right now. So it's very hard to be someone who's wanted when we're so empty. And that's what self-care will really do to you. You'll feel, if what you love to do is to go walking with a friend, or if what you do is, if you what you love to do is to bake, and you get that in on a regular basis, you will be a different person and people will want to be around you.
I think that's a really important point, and I can definitely relate to that with my kids. You know, you just feel needed all the time by your kids,
Hmm.
and it's draining. And they're kids, and that's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're there for. They need you, and that's what you're there for. And that's why it's so much more important in other relationships to make sure that you feel wanted rather than needed. It's exhausting and overwhelming to be
Yeah,
needed all the time by everyone.
for sure.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. Wow, that's really important. So everyone watching this should comment with a couple of things that they do for self-care. I know I've been thinking about it since we first spoke, and for me it's exercise, it's listening to a stimulating lecture, it's not doing the dishes, but getting the dishes done.
Sometimes that's getting cleaning help, and that's your self-care, you know?
Right, right. As long as the sink is empty, I feel full.
Okay, good. Good for you. You're making progress.
Yeah, so there are things when we first spoke, I couldn't identify anything. And now thinking about it, that's, I've come up with a few things. So I think everyone who's watching should just write down in the comment section what you do for self-care, what fills you up that doesn't have to do with someone else directly.
Yeah.
And, we can all help each other to come up with ideas. Maybe you'll write something that someone else didn't think about and you can help someone else feel more complete. And isn't that nice?
It is. And I'll just add, because I love this topic so much, that when we were speaking, I told you this, but I also read the book, The Five Love Languages. I think that's like the best book ever written in the whole world. It's my favorite book. And if you need some ideas on self-care, read the book, figure out your love language, and then learn to give yourself your love language. It sounds so crazy, but it really helped me. My love language is quality time. And you think, how could you have quality time by yourself? But you just start walking by yourself, and you just start going to the gym. I started to read, and I feel like I'm really taking responsibility for myself, and it feels really good.
Good. Yeah, that was really enlightening. Thinking, for me, one of my love languages was touch, and so you were telling me you can take a bath. It didn't occur to me. So
Right,
I'm gonna
right.
take a bubble bath. I might
Yeah,
go take a bubble bath with a glass of wine because
yeah. Light a
that's
candle, put
the
on
sixth love
music.
language is wine.
Yeah. You should definitely get like fun soaps, or like oils, like candles, put on music. It's just like so much for yourself.
Yeah.
Everything.
Well, I think that's great. I think it's a great topic, and we focus so much on, and I focus so much in these segments on nutrition for the family. But how about just some mom time?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
Me,
it's
me
really
time.
me time.
Yeah.
Foreign concept.
Yeah.
Well,
I
thank you
love it.
so much for joining me, and I'm going to leave your contact information in the comment section, and hopefully, when there's a website, this is
There
a
will
brand new
be.
practice, so
Yeah.
I'm pulling for you. So I'll put the
Mhm.
information in case anyone's in Woodmere. I know you're going to be doing some workshops, so we'll hopefully connect you with people.
Okay, thank you so much.
So thanks for joining me, and I'll be back next week at 1 p.m. Arizona time, which is currently noon Pacific time and 2 p.m. Eastern time with Nap Time Nutrition, and I'm always open for topic suggestions. So thank you, and see you next week.
Bye.